Welcome to Finfinne News Network, FNN News. I am your host, Sibel. First up in news today, troops from the OLA located in the northwest of Shawa have reported routing Abiy Ahmed's troops from several towns, including the town of Dara. The OLA is engaging the Abiy army as close as 21 miles from the capital, around the town of Sululta. We'll put up a map now to illustrate where the OLA troops are located as of right now. So here we can see this map. This was posted to Twitter. And here we see the capital, Addis Ababa, Finfinne, and one town here in the middle, Alem Ghana, it looks like. And this looks like by car, only 39 minutes to travel from where OLA troops have made it to, are now located in their progress towards the capital to the center of Finfinne. So obviously a lot of progress there. Meanwhile, the North Shagari Command has reported a widespread attack on the Ethiopian military between bombers 2 and 3 that resulted in OLA victories, and the OLA reported confiscating over 50 weapons and caches of ammunition. Meanwhile, OLA spokesperson Oda Tarbi reported via Twitter that the army is making a final push to take the rest of Nagele Borana. We'll put up that tweet here, this tweet from Oda Tarbi, spokesperson for the OLA. So firstly, the first goal of the army is to make a final push to take the rest of Nagele Borana. And Oda Tarbi also reporting that Ethiopian forces in the Hidhabu Abote district in North Shawa have retreated to urban areas. And additionally, Fano has also launched another offensive on East Walaga. So those are some updates there from an OLA spokesperson. Next up in news, newly released reports indicate that some residents of the capital, Finfinne, have been rounded up and detained based on their ethnicity. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission said that, quote, people have been arrested from their workplaces, homes, and on the streets and are being held at various city police stations. The statement also continues here, a direct quote, it is deeply concerning that the incarceration includes mothers with children and the elderly. And the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission also stressed the need to establish a special system to investigate the conditions of those vulnerable groups. Those detainments reportedly began after the national state of emergency was declared on November 2nd. That declaration of a state of emergency giving the government the power to detain the people suspected of collaborating with, quote, terrorist groups on reasonable grounds. That's according to CNN. However, the declaration of a state of emergency also still prohibits the authorities from infringing upon human rights in any way. Police have claimed that these detentions are meant to target allies of the TPLF, as the TPLF forces, of course, near the capital. However, they admitted that they are taking place on the basis of ethnicity, of course, selecting for Tigrayans who are living in the capital. Amnesty International also reported earlier this year on other detainments in the capital that apparently were being carried out based upon ethnic identity and also disproportionately targeting Tigrayans. However, another report that was released today from the Canadian Globe and Mail also discovered that an estimated 20,000 to 30,000 Tigrayans have been detained for seemingly no reason since conflict broke out in Ethiopia last year. And the outlet located 2 of the apparent detainment camps, which appear to be in the Afar region, while a 3rd detainment camp is located just outside of the capital, Finfinne. And those interviews from the report indicate that Tigrayans that have been detained were tortured and beaten, and that some detainees heard gunshots and feared that their fellow prisoners were being executed. Meanwhile, some others managed to escape after they bribed the guards. Moving on to other news, reports indicate that the federal and regional armies have burned down the home of the mother of Dawood Ibsa and have vandalized her tomb. She passed away around 2019. That's unconfirmed. Dawood Ibsa, of course, is the OLF chairperson, and he is a major political opposition figure to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Dawood Ibsa has been under house arrest since May 3rd of this year. He was arrested after police searched his home for no apparent reason and seized multiple of his belongings. So, I'm going to put up a few more images here. So again, Dawood Ibsa, currently under house arrest, has been under house arrest since May 3rd. And no one has been permitted to enter his home. And so many groups, the OLA, the OLF, as well as humanitarian organizations, including Amnesty International, have called for his release, as he has not so far been charged with anything, has been placed under arrest without any kind of trial or mention as to what law he violated. And also many are still fearing that the authorities who are responsible for guarding him as he's under arrest have not given him the food and other survival necessities that he needs. Moving on to U.S.-Ethiopia relations. The U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Jeffrey Feltman, is set to meet with African Union envoy and former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo on Monday night. Now, Feltman has returned from a trip to Ethiopia just now that he took to meet with Ethiopian government officials as the situation in the capital becomes more tense. And a U.S. State Department spokesperson, Ned Price, said, direct quote, "We are engaging with the parties to try and put them on a path to a cessation of hostilities, which is our priority now and going forward." Now, Obasanjo also reportedly met with a Tigrayan leader. We'll put up an image of that here. Obasanjo reportedly met with Tigray leader Debretsion Gebremichael in Mekelle, the capital of Tigray, this past weekend. And TPLF spokesperson Getachew Reda also described this meeting in an interview with the BBC. So we will go ahead and play that clip from the meeting that a spokesperson had with Obasanjo.
Obasanjo obviously had a number of questions with regard to the state of play, like he said. And I think it was his first time to meet people and hear our side of the story. To the extent that there was a very candid discussion between the president of Tigray and Chief Obasanjo simply meant it will help clarify matters. So it would be premature for us to comment on substantive issues. But the fact that they both met and exchanged views on what they both think is the right thing to do as far as addressing the crisis and the war in Ethiopia. And of course, we in Tigray feel strongly about doing something about the genocidal campaign that has been waged against our people. So President Debretsion took the opportunity to explain at length what we in Tigray stand for as far as the resolution of the conflict is concerned.
And what is your view on how to resolve the conflict, as you said earlier, the way forward?
The only obstacle that's standing in the way of peaceful resolution to the conflict is Abiy's obsession with military solution to what is essentially a political problem. Now he tried to impose his will on the people of Tigray, and the people of Tigray were singled out simply because they took their right to self-determination very seriously. We went ahead with elections, and it probably is the first time in history that a leader would unleash war against people who simply insisted on exercising their right to vote. So,
however,
yes,
if I can ask you though, because that's now taking it back to the elections that you held, even though the government, the central government, had asked you not to and had called for a postponement. But if we now move it to now, 2021, you say that the central government is looking for a military way forward, but what about you? Because your forces have joined with the OLA. What is your intent as you advance towards Addis Ababa, if I may ask?
We are fighting because, even after removing Abiy's forces from most parts of Tigray, so there are still territories in the hands of enemy forces. What we were expecting was for Abiy to essentially agree to resolving the conflict peacefully. But they continue to impose a blockade against the people of Tigray to achieve through blockade what they failed to achieve through tanks and artillery pieces. So we had to, save our people from the chokehold that was imposed by Abiy. Our children are dying not simply because as long as the chokehold is maintained by Abiy, as long as he still thinks he can carve our people into submission, as long as he is presiding over a status quo where our children are dying from hunger and starvation, we'll continue to take appropriate measures.
If I may ask, you say the ball is in his court and you will continue to take appropriate measures. Does this mean that unless a blockade is lifted and food and supplies get to the millions who are now starving, who are on the brink of famine, according to the UN, in Amhara and also in Tigray, more importantly, are you saying you will continue to march towards Addis Ababa?
Very much so. Yes, that's our position. We'll continue to march. It's not so much about Addis Ababa as our intention to arm twist Abiy into lifting the blockade on our people. We would like to allay the fears of the people of Addis Ababa that we're not in the business of terrorizing them. We are only in the business of neutralizing the threat that emanates from there, and we'll do everything that a responsible party such as my government would do to allay the fears of the people of Addis Ababa. It is for Abiy to say yes to our demands. It is Abiy who started the war, and it remains for Abiy to agree to our terms and put an end to the conflict.
Once again, that's African Union envoy and former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo meeting with Tigrayan leader Debretsion Gebremichael in Mekelle, the capital of Tigray. And given that Finfinne, of course, as these tensions rise, as both the OLA and the TPLF approach Finfinne, we have to ask that given that Finfinne is the capital of Oromia also, just as Mekelle is the capital of Tigray. As of yet, it remains unclear whether the TDF, the Tigrayan Defense Forces, intend to support the OLA or if their main goal is just to occupy the capital. Moving on to the next story, we have received reports that a luxury car that was owned by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was taken. Here we're going to show an image of that now. So reports posted to Facebook are indicating that a motorized luxury vehicle that was owned by the Prime Minister Abiy and was used to hunt animals was captured by OLA fighters near the town of Lagatafo. Now, Lagatafo is an urban village in Oromia that is on the outskirts of the capital, and it is frequented by wealthy business people, including Amharic pop artists like Teddy Afro. So once again, we're going to show some pictures here. Another one we've obtained from Facebook reports of Abiy's luxury vehicle that was captured by OLA fighters. Again, this is just to show, once again, how close the OLA is now coming to the capital, that these tensions are ratcheting up very rapidly as these two armies, multiple armies, in fact, are approaching, putting further pressure on Abiy. Now, meanwhile, last story for today, a singer by the name of Tariku. We'll put up a picture here of Tariku. A singer by the name of Tariku was granted the stage during a pro-Abiy demonstration, and he used his platform to advise the youth not to go to war, and he instead said that it should be the elders who should go, and they should go with grass and not with weapons. That, of course, referring to the importance of negotiating as opposed to just running into a violent conflict. And there were reports afterwards stating that Tariku had been detained. However, he later posted to Twitter that those reports were incorrect and he had not, in fact, been detained. So those are all of our news updates for today. We'll continue to update you as the OLA approaches the capital. Thank you again for watching Finfinne News, Finfinne News Network, and I'm your host, Sibel.